Thank you so much, Amara. Thank you. The next person is Emanuela.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emanuela Kelvin, and I am here to present a poem titled The Light We Carry. We may not preach like priests do, but we can still do good things too. With caring hearts and helping hands, we serve God's love across the paths. We are called to do what is right in what we say and how we act each day. A smile, a gift, and a small kind act can show God's love in simple ways. Not everyone may stand to preach. Some people teach through what they do. To be fair, honest, and kind, and show God's love to others too. At home and school and in church, in everyone we meet each day, we share God's peace and show His care and help to make the world okay. So let us stand and do our best with faith and hope inside our hearts. Be responsible in all we do. We shine God's love in every part. Salt of the earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emanuela. Thank you.
Yes. So, together, we have to look for a way to make them a part of this native way. So, a highlight what they are doing for us today, they're going to act a small round. And please, I would like to get our insights. I will listen from to like 4 or 5 persons to tell us if you understand what this kids are about to do for us. They are amazing. They are making a presentation, but they are not speaking. So please pay attention to them and see what they did and tell us what you saw them do. Okay? I think we can do better now. So the past a message within these few minutes. I don't know if anybody can help us give a summary of what this is. You can try. Okay.
Hallelujah.
I think from their little drama, they are talking about peer group influence and all this Yahoo Yahoo. Those of them that are into those Yahoo Yahoo and Ninja Bet, they were along the line, they were arrested. And other ones that were interested in their books, they were not in any form found in any bad thing. Even when the bad friends come along to deceive them, they did not get distracted along the way. So they were focused. So it's teaching us that we should be focused and trust in God, that we should be mindful of our studies when we are of our academics, when we are in the school system, so that along the line we will not find one thing and we will not fall by the wayside and will become somebody in the future. Praise God.
Thank you very much. Any other person? Okay. Praise the Lord.
I can see when friends were invited others to come and join them. Then the other one said, I will not follow you. The other one came with a laptop showing the other person, this is what I'm doing. Then the other one said, no, I am reading. I cannot follow you. The lady invited the other one to follow her. She said she's not going, that she's going to church. So the message now is you have to determine who you want to be. Determination comes in here. Don't allow your peer group to distract you. If you said you want to be a Christian, be a true Christian. If you want to be a student in the school, which you want to be somebody in the next future, you have to be focused. First, what you have gone in for, not listening to side attraction, so that at the end, you will come out progressing. You see, at the end of the activities or at the end of the drama, those people that were in their other group, that were not focused, that were distracted, that were tuned out from their original way, those people were arrested. So may God not allow us to fall into temptation and in the hands of the evil ones. In the name of Jesus.
If that is not, this is what they do and they comment on the fees for free of charge.
Okay. I have to read out the citation of our brother who we are here to listen to. But I think the last is a chartered accountant and financial expert with special interest in taxation and revenue management. Having vast professional experience spanning the manufacturing sector, auditing, not-for-profit sector, with specialty in grant management and reporting. He is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CIT. He holds a Master of Science in Accounting and Finance, a Master of Business Administration and Project Management. He is currently undergoing a doctorate degree in taxation and revenue management. He is the lead consultant and sole owner of AGT Consulting. He will be speaking on the topic, demystifying the new Nigerian tax law, Nigerian Tax Act 2026, and will be highlighting what individuals and businesses need to know. Brothers and sisters, so please, brothers and sisters, stay calm, relax, and listen to what the Lord has for us. Write your questions down. We shall, like we wrote here, demystify and glory to Jesus.
Honor to me. Glory to Jesus. So today we will be looking at the topic on the slide. And in the period of 1 year from now, in Nigeria, it has been believed that the much discussed topic is about taxation, even more than the insecurity that is killing people everywhere. And you could understand, or you could remember, that when the issue came up that the government wants to do the reform, a lot of people came on social media to make a lot of statements that were not correct. So we try our possible best to just try to shed light on some of those lies that were not true. You know, it's very easy now with your phone and data, you're able to give an opinion on a professional matter where you do not have any expertise. And that is what we want to clarify today. So, by way of introduction, it is no longer news that this reform has taken place as led by the then presidential chairman for fiscal policy and tax reform, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, who is right now the finance minister. This reform has been done and it was signed into law. It was passed into law on the 26th of June, 2025. It became effective on the 1st of January. A lot of lies has been going on, or we are going on, and those are the things we want to look at. So it is not something you will say does not concern me, because when it is time, those guys from NRS, FCTIRS, for those in Abuja, they will come knocking. And for you who earn money, they will be interested in what you have been doing over the period. So I will try as much as possible to just go straight to the point. If you have questions, you jot them. When we are done, we'll try and see how we can pick them. So let's look at the outline of what we are going to do. So the very outline will be to talk about the myths. Those are the lies. Then we'll talk about the reality. Yes, continue. We'll look at the So we'll look at the individual taxpayers, we'll look at the exemptions available, we'll look at the penalties, and then we'll take some, maybe we'll look at the old and the new income tax, personal income tax, talking about the payee. You know, the personal income tax also has been changed. It has been grossly affected. And according to them, that they want to tax prosperity and not poverty. I will show you the implication of that. We will conclude and probably take some quotes from our holy fathers. So this is all we are set out to achieve today. So the myths. Myth number one. We were told that in Nigeria, as at 1st of January, if you did not pay tax, government will just freeze your account. If you're in this hall, you have not heard that news, then it means you are not in Nigeria. But this was one of the lies, that government will just freeze your account. No, government has no such rights to freeze your account. So tax is charged to taxable income, not on every bank transaction. Gifts, family transfers, loan, reimbursement, or money moved between your account are not taxed simply because they pass through your account. This has been a kind of misconception that people just go on the internet and share information that are not there. Bank do report high value transaction, but reporting is not the same as taxation. Tax only apply if funds represent maybe undeclared income. An undeclared taxable income. If you earn income from a source and you did not declare to government for purposes of taxes, that may make the government to maybe freeze your account and call you. But that cannot just happen because there has to be a process. And that is one of the things we also look at. Myth number two, the government will automatically freeze your account without a TIN. That if you do not register and have a tax identification number, when the new tax law takes effect, the government will just freeze your account. It is not true too. The reality is this: the law does not allow automatic debits or account freeze, like I said before. Bank only reports high value transaction, e.g., if a transaction occur on your account in a 30 days calendar period, that is in a month, of over 25 million, the bank has an obligation to report to CAC and CBN, but not to take any money from you. So that is another lie that we are here to say it is not true. And for you to get your TIN, it is just for you to just check online, go to FCTIRS portal, you can generate and register for your TIN. And for your information, TIN has been changed to taxpayer ID. We have one for state and one for national. So there is no longer anything like TIN. TIN is abolished. What we have now is taxpayer ID. One for state, for those in Abuja is one for FCT and one for national. So when you go to the portal and you register, automatically 2 IDs will be generated for you. One is for national and one is for your state. For instance, if you are in Ogun State, one will appear for you and then one will be for national. Then, another myth, government can automatically debit your account so long as you have money safe in your bank account. So this one was to discourage people to keep money in their houses. And some people started withdrawing their money from their bank accounts just to keep somewhere. And you know the risks of keeping cash, especially in this time that the economy is not smiling with anybody. So these two, I stand to say it is no. The reality is this: there is no automatic or arbitrary debit power. Tax authority must follow legal process, which include having to do an assessment with you. They will give you notices, and you also have a right to object if they serve you a notice and you're not happy with it. And then enforcement procedures can now take place. However, the government has a right to place a lien. Lien simply means an action on your account, maybe like a post-note debit. They will say there should be no debit on that account. That is only where they obtain a permission from the court of law, giving them such permission to do that. Otherwise, that cannot happen. So these are in cases where maybe there are cases of tax evasion. Tax evasion simply means that you refuse to pay tax or you undertake to do some fraudulent activities, or you have been persistently defaulting in your tax obligation. That is only when the court can order the tax authority to take such action on your account and money can be debited from your account. Otherwise, no government has such powers, and you only need one lawyer to stand for you to sue the government. So, one of the myths is that they say that VAT has been increased. VAT simply means value added tax. And value added tax is simply a consumption tax placed on certain commodities to discourage people from taking them. You see, such as soft drinks, like the Coke, a lot of soft drinks that you take. So in the interest of government, in the interest of your health, government want to discourage you from taking such products, and they will put on tax VAT on it to make the price slightly above what you can take, so that you can be able to do zobo and kunu in your house and drink and be more healthier. People say because this has been increased, it will make the prices of everything to be going up, which is not true. In the real sense of it, VAT rate has remained as it used to be, which is 7.5%. The reform expands the list of zero-rated items, including essential goods and services, aimed at lowering costs for consumers. So you can see that most of the things that people were telling us on the internet were not correct. I don't know if my presenter is moving with me. Okay. Now, the next one is this law only burdens businesses. According to them, they don't want anybody to do business in Nigeria again. And if you do business, you're on your own. In fact, if you do business and you register a business and you have credentials, registers, because they will take your NIN on CSC portal, they will come for you and they will even take more than what you have in the business. I start to say no as well. As it stands today, the regime is trying to modernize the system. For those of you that are used to maybe the NRS, former FRS portal, it used to be tax promos. But right now, as we're talking, on the 30th of this month, that is April, the RF 360, as REV 360 will be off. And it is promised that that platform is going to be seamless, is going to be hitch-free, unlike the normal tax promos that people are not able to work. So, in the real aspect of it is that the government is even trying to protect businesses and even reduce the number of taxes. So, if you look at it, even the company income tax has been reduced. Before now, the number of taxes and levies that we have in Nigeria, we have more than 60. But it has been reduced to just about 4 or so. We have a withholding tax, we have VAT, we have the normal personal income tax, then we have the development levy, which is paid by companies. So in the real sense of it is that the government is actually trying to streamline the tax process and make it more easy. The only thing is that it is not optional for you now to comply with the provisions of taxes as required. One of the myths again is that this tax was meant to suffer low-income earners. That is not true as well. Based on the new tax law, people earning an annual income of about 800,000 naira, that is about minimum wage, are exempted from tax. So if you are in this place and you earn 80,000 naira, or you even earn 100,000 naira, meaning that your annual income is 1.2, you are exempted from tax as well. So if your accountant has been taking tax from your, go and complain that you have attended a training and they said you are exempted from tax. So the government said they want to take more money from people who are rich. So they don't want to tax poverty, instead they are taxing prosperity. And they also do not want to tax capital, instead they want to tax profits. That is why they said for businesses whose turnover is less than 100 million are also exempted from tax. So you cannot say that this law was meant to suffer businesses or low-income earners, because these provisions are actually there to help businesses. So another one is that Some people said, you don't need to do anything, just ignore them. They are just making noise. You have no obligation, just ignore them. No, if you ignore them, it is a serious business. So you can ignore tax obligation if you are a small business. You cannot ignore tax obligation if you are a small business. Section 52, subsection 22 provides that whether you're a small business or not, you must file your tax obligation, in as much as you are exempted from tax. The duty to file has remained and is remained constant. So for businesses, you file every 30th of June. But for individuals, we were all expected to file our returns by 31st of March, which a lot of people did not do, right? So you are required to file your tax. For instance, you work for government, you work for a private sector, you work in any establishment, and they deduct pay as you earn, that is payee on your behalf and pay. If you earn income from other sources, it is expected that on the 31st of April, you should have also filed your income. So that is what they say. And the penalty for this is that if you do not file, there is a penalty of 50,000 naira for the first month, then 10,000 naira on every subsequent month. So it is very important that we should be able to talk to professionals. Sometimes this thing does not even cost money. If you are into any kind of business and you earn money, please don't just claim to do it by yourself. Always speak to somebody you think can give you a good advice. And the issue of giving you good advice is like going to the hospital. You should be sure of the doctor that is giving you prescription. Otherwise, you'll be taking poison instead of medication. So try to talk to people, keep your record, and people can help you to file your tax. It may not even come at a very big cost. Then, one of the myths also is that every transfer, including family support, is now taxed. No, this is not true. When this argument was going on, I went to buy something. In fact, I was doing a POS transaction. The lady was that, as I'm transferring, I should write gift. I said, why am I writing gift? He said that if I just transfer and go, they will tax the money. I said, no, I don't have to gift you because I don't know you. Why am I giving you money? If somebody now sees it and asks me, maybe my wife sees that, she asks me, why am I giving this person money? And for the fact that you're a lady, what will I explain? What will I say? So these were all the lies that were flying around. And it is because we have refused to talk to professionals. You can talk to a lawyer, you can talk to an accountant, you can talk to a tax practitioner. These are people who knows the law and knows what is there. So I encourage you, don't say that your business is too small. You don't need anybody to support you. In abroad, everybody has an accountant because you need to know who want to pay tax here. If you know that you want to pay tax, raise your hand. Hey, my friend, Ejika, it's true. Okay, no problem, I will send them to you. But the truth is that nobody wants to pay tax. And that is why in the definition of tax, the definition of taxation that is acceptable is the one that includes compulsory levy, because they make it compulsory. It's a levy that is made compulsory. If not, nobody will want to pay. In fact, even man of God, even if you gather all the reverend fathers and bring them together and ask them, do you want to pay tax? They may run away from that discussion because nobody wants to pay tax. And of course, the issue in Nigeria is it's not even about collection of tax. How it is being utilized is a problem, right? That is a problem because in other places it is being collected and you can see it. The train stations, the trains are moving, the hospitals are working, the school is there. In fact, as we are here, if God does not help us, this light will go off. But in abroad, somebody will stay for 20 years. You don't know whether this light can trip. So the difference is clear. But if you meet anybody that works with any of the revenue service and you interrogate them, they will tell you that they have a responsibility to collect. It is your duty to go back to your councillor, go back to your chairman, go back to your House of Rep member, go back to your senator, and go back to your governor and hold them accountable. It is not their duty. They are only doing their work. And it is true, because they are being paid and they take care of their families from there. So what do you have to tell them? It is your responsibility to hold your government accountable. And on that note, I encourage you to also get your voter's card. It's very important. So withholding tax is a separate tax, and in fact, it translates to double taxation. No. Withholding tax is actually a kind of prepayment, a deposit that a company makes on your behalf when you have a contract, isn't it? So it means that it is an annual tax liability in your name, so that at the end of the year, at the end of the period, when you're doing your account and you have to reconcile with the tax authority, you can present it. And if you have no any liability to pay any longer, and there is any excess, it becomes a tax credit for you, and they will give you a note to claim in the subsequent period. So withholding tax is not a double taxation. And again, let me just say something on that again. So if you are in this hall and maybe you are into any form of business, and you know that in a calendar month of 30 days, you're undertaking a transaction with any company, and the invoice amount is not up to 2 million naira, and they charge you withholding tax, tell them no. Tell them that the new tax law did not permit that. If a transaction in a calendar month is less than 2 million naira or 2 million on the dot, they should not take withholding tax from it. And for withholding tax for businesses in the ordinary, services in the ordinary course of business, like buying and selling, supply of materials, stationaries, and the rest of it, it's just 2% now, as against the 5% we used to know. So these are some of the few things you need to know. So if anybody charge you withholding tax on any invoice in a month that is not up to, not more than 2 million, tell the person no. And if you call me, I will send you the law. And you can call anybody, they will provide the argument for you. So in the real sense of it is that small businesses with an annual turnover of, is actually 100 million. 100 million are exempted from tax. Now, they say digital assets like cryptos are exempted, encouraging people to invest in it. If you look at it very well, some people, there was a time that people were withdrawing all their money from the bank and exchanging it to dollar. Some people were buying Bitcoins. Some people were buying some of the things. And the time came that they say the thing has crashed. Some of those people were the people that were listening to people on the internet. No, the reality is that under Section 34 of the NTA, that is the Nigerian Tax Act of 2025, digital assets such as cryptocurrencies, NFTs are considered taxable assets when they realize. So when you invest in cryptocurrencies and you make profit or you withdraw, as they would call it, you are expected to pay tax on it. The next one is, sorry. Okay, tax reform means higher tax for everyone. But in the real sense of it is that the structure, the whole idea is to clarify the tax, to equalize this, so that if you're earning low, you pay lesser tax, and if you're earning higher, you pay higher taxes. And maybe when we go down, you will see the table, the tax income bracket. So it is not true that you will say that the new tax has made tax very high for everybody. No. In that manner, it has even made it to be more equitable for people who are earning less to pay less tax, and then people who are earning more to pay more. So let me be fast. I don't know before they will come and serve me one paper. So the new tax law will kill productivity. No. The new tax law actually encourages people to do businesses so that they are able to earn extra money. The system is intentionally progressive to protect low and middle income earners, incentivizes SMEs, and offer targeted relief for priority sectors, including innovation and employment in creation industry, like those people doing crafts, those people in the creativity industry, fashion designers, and the rest. They are part of the people that this law seeks to protect and also encourage them to do businesses. So one of the myths is also that tax avoidance and evasion are the same. Tax avoidance is a different thing from evasion. Tax avoidance is legal, and it simply means that you want to optimize your tax. So you look for somebody who has read the law and can check within the laws to know where there are loopholes, to be able to take advantage of it, to plan your tax, to tell you what you can do for you not to pay tax. If you remember, in first tenure of Donald Trump, he was accused of underpaying taxes, right? When they called him, he just called his tax consultant, and the guy came, and he pointed out that this is your law, and this is what I use. So in that manner, it is called tax avoidance. But tax evasion simply means that you know that you are required to pay tax, but you ignore it, or you flagrantly refuse to pay tax. So you have refused to pay. So they are two different things altogether. So for tax avoidance is within the ambit of the law, and it is also called tax planning. So there are provisions within the tax law that allow you to play around so that you are able to avoid payment of taxes. So the new tax law strengthens anti-evasion measures, not legitimate tax planning. So if you're doing a legitimate tax planning, the new tax law does not bother you. So we'll look at who is an individual taxpayer now. That is the second thing on our outline, individual taxpayer. So an individual taxpayer is a taxable natural person. That is a human being whose income, profits, or gain are subject to tax under the provisions of the Nigerian Tax Act. This covers income earned from employment, businesses, profession, investment, and other sources chargeable under the Nigerian Tax Act. So it means that as we are here in the church, you're a human being, you're an individual, and you're a taxpayer, and you should have a tax ID. And let me tell you one of the things that you need to look out. If you own a business, whatever is the business, and you want to do business with anybody at all in Nigeria, and the person does not have a TIN, that is tax identification number, please, I beg you, don't do business with that person. The law provides that if you do, there will be a fine of 5 million naira. As long as the person did not submit his TIN, do not contract the person. Whether it's a company or an individual, do not contract the person. If you do, the penalty is about 5 million naira. Now, an individual taxpayer whose income is chargeable to tax under Nigerian tax law must register and comply with tax filing and payment obligation under the Nigerian Tax Act 2025 and the Nigerian Tax Administration Act 2025 as well. This includes resident and non-resident individual, any taxable income in Nigeria. So it is not just about those people who are Nigerian nationals. Even if you are not a national of Nigeria, but you're resident in Nigeria, you are expected to pay income as long as you earn in this country. So if you have a business as a foreigner and you earn money, it is expected that you should also pay tax. So now, we would consider some of the exemptions because these are some of the things that we don't know. There was a day I was watching some of the videos on internet, and somebody went to a restaurant, he ordered for food, and when they gave him the printout receipt, there was a VAT invoice. There was a VAT amount on it. So the guy was like, who ordered for VAT? Who ordered for VAT? So it became an argument that they had to call the manager to come and tell him that, okay, this is how their system works. That if you order for any meal in this hotel or in this restaurant, you pay VAT of 7.5%. So Sometimes when we go to buy things, especially in the supermarkets, we are just too quick to collect the receipt and go. I don't do that too. When you give me, I scan it very well. If I see what is not in that order, I will remove it or will argue it. And it's very, very important because your money is not meant to be dashing people anyhow. You should account for every kobo because every little number counts. So Nigeria is said to have about how many people? 200 and something million, right? So assuming each Nigerian give you 111 naira, 1111 naira, everybody, do you know how much you become? Maybe you may not need to work for the next 5 years, but you'll be okay. Do you understand? So little numbers count. So don't neglect those things. It's very, very important. And if your money is not okay for you, you don't want to use it, just bring it to the church and give us here. So please pay attention to whatever your money is doing for you because it's your sweat and you need to account for it. So tax exemption is a relief given to taxpayers from payment of taxes entirely or temporarily upon meeting certain conditions provided by the extant tax laws. So those are the reliefs. So like even the new tax law provide that if you're earning below the minimum wage, you should not pay tax. And there is another relief that they provided that you are entitled to a maximum of 500,000 or 20% of your rent. So if your rent is 2.5, meaning that you can enjoy the maximum percentage, which is 20%. 20% of 2.5 is what? Is 500,000. But if your rent is 3 million, for instance, meaning that 20% is about 600,000. You can only enjoy up to 500,000. But if your rent is below 2.5, you can always calculate 20% of it, and that will become a relief under the new tax law. But there is a provisory. The provisory is that you must present a document, any form of evidence showing that you're actually paying rent. So you can tender your agreement, your rent agreement, you can tender your receipt of payment, even a transfer from your bank to your landlord. And the essence is this: they just want to bring all the landlords to let them, as they are increasing the rent, let them also be paying taxes. So they have opened the net to catch everybody in debt. So it's a relief to you, but it's an invitation to bring your landlords to the tax book. So if you don't do it, it's your option, but because you'll be paying more. Because the accountant in your office, if you don't present your rent receipt, he will ignore it, and that will mean that you are not enjoying that relief. Then, tax exemption means statutory relief granted by law, whereby a person, income transaction or activity is wholly or partly relieved from the obligation to pay liability. So these are the reliefs that are available. I will mention some of them. In calculation of your payroll, one of the things that is also exempted is pension. Your pension contribution of 8%, employee contribution of 8% is also exempted. And if you are being paid gratuity or retirement benefit, is also exempted from tax. So if you are a pensioner here, your pension is exempted from VAT and from any form of tax at all. Compensation for loss of employment up to 50 million. If you are working for any international agency or any organization whatsoever, and maybe due to any policy or whatsoever, you have been laid off and you have been paid termination benefit of up to 50 million, nobody should touch it. The law said that money is exempted from tax. But if you have anything on top of it, okay, 10 minutes, that's fine. Let me check my time. Okay. If you have anything on top of that, the law said it can be taxed. Disposal of asset and owner-occupied houses are also exempted from tax. Then disposal of personal charter is also exempted from VAT of up to 5 million. Then we have disposal of up to 2 private vehicles per year. So if you sell your private car, 2 cars in a year, you are not expected to pay tax on it. So if you are selling car to anybody, 2 cars in a calendar year, you are not expected to pay tax on it. So those are some of the exemptions. Gain on disposal or sale of shares below 150 million per year or gain of up to 10 million is also exempted from tax. Then we want to move to some of the penalties because my time is counting. So my presenter, please, let's move to some of the penalties that we have. So chapter 4 of the NTA. Chapter 4 of the NTA, that is the Nigerian Tax Act, provide for different type of tax-related offenses and penalties for both incorporated and unincorporated taxpayers. The offenses for unincorporated, that is individual taxpayer, include, I will list all of them. Failure to register, 50,000 naira in the first month and 25,000 in the subsequent month. So if you do not register for TIN, that is your penalty. So it is expected that everybody in Nigeria, as we are talking now, should have a taxpayer ID. Then failure to file return, 100 million in the first month, 100,000 rather in the first month, and 50,000 in the subsequent month. The law is not playing. Then failure to keep books, there is an administrative penalty of 10,000 naira. Then failure to deduct tax, penalty of 40% of the amount and not deducted. So if you have a business and you contract somebody and you have obligation to withhold tax, and you did not withhold tax, the law said that you will pay 40% of that amount. And if you withhold and you did not pay at all, you will pay the 40% and then the interest on the fine, according to CBN monetary policy rates, you will pay for that period. So that is the law. Failure to remit tax deducted at source or safe account, the amount deducted not remitted or an amount not safe accounted for. A 10% administrative penalty of the amount and interest at CBN monetary policy rates is what the government will collect. Failure to attend to demand, request or notice, an administrative penalty of 100,000 in the first day and 10,000 for every subsequent date. So if a tax authority gives you notice and they say they want to see you, they want you to reply in the next 1 month, make sure you reply. Just get a lawyer or get an accountant to help you respond. If you do not respond, the penalty is 100,000 on the first day of that notice, expiration of that notice, and 10,000 in the subsequent days. So you calculate 10,000 in 30 days, then calculate it in 6 months and calculate it in 1 year. You will see that it's a very big deal. Then, no complying by virtual asset service provider. If you're a virtual service provider, all those fintech and the rest, an administrative penalty of 10 million in the first month and 1 million every subsequent month, and suspension or revocation of operating license by SEC, that is Security and Exchange Commission. Offenses and penalty continue. Failure to stamp 10% of unpaid duty and interest at CBN monetary policy rates. Failure to disclose facts in a dutiable instrument, an administrative penalty of 100,000 or, on conviction, a fine of 50,000 or an imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or both. So there are some offenses that can take you to prison. Failure to notify changes of address. When you register your business on CKC portal, there is always a request for your office address. If you have any reason to change that address, it is expected that you will also file it with the tax authority. Otherwise, you'll be fined 100,000 in the first month and 5,000 every subsequent month. Then if you induce a tax officer, the law said that you'll be fined 500,000 or an imprisonment not exceeding 3 years. Then use of weapon. If they serve you a tax notice and maybe you have strong boys in your streets and you order them to be beaten up, the law said that an imprisonment not exceeding 5 years, and if there is an injury in the course of that fighting, there will be an imprisonment of up to 10 years. Then impersonation of an unauthorized officer. If you impersonate as a tax agent and maybe you harass anybody and they caught you, a fine not exceeding 1 million or an imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or both. The obstruction, an administrative penalty of 1 million or a conviction, a fine not exceeding 1 million or an imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or both. So if you obstruct the tax authority from maybe gaining access to your premises to value your documents or check whatsoever they want to check, that is what the law says your penalty. Then some of the key compliance issues, we'll just look at them. These are very small and we are about rounding up. So for your payee, if you own a business and you have people working under you, the deadline for remitting payee is on the 10th of every month. So when you withhold payee on behalf of your employee, you should be able to remit it on the 10th of next month. Then for pension, presenter, pension is on the 7th of every day of every next month. So if you withhold pension in the month of April, it is expected that you should remit it before on the 7th of May. That is next month. So the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, that is the NSITF, the deadline for remittance of that is 16th of the next month. Then National Housing Fund. The National Housing Fund has become not compulsory for private sector, but for those people working for government, it's compulsory. But if you're working for a private establishment and you do not want to contribute to the National Housing Fund again, just go and tell your accountant that you're not doing it again, and they will remove you. The law provides for that. Then value-added tax, you are expected to file your VAT on the 21st of preceding month. Then withholding tax is also on the 21st of the next month. Then the CSC annual return filing, not later than 30th of June of the next year. So if you have a business, this is 2026, it is expected that you should file your annual return to CSC portal on or before 30th of June. And this is just 5,000 naira, regardless of whatever is your turnover. But if you do not do that, in every subsequent month, there will be a fine of 2,000 naira. And if you do not do that, by the time you want to do anything with bank, and they will demand for your certified true copy, at that point, you cannot be able to have access to it because you are not fulfilling your obligations. Then the next thing is that we are looking at the paying tax brackets, the old versus new. So this is the much talk about payee. So people don't understand the way payee work. The government said that they are not taxing people who are any low income. If you look at the slides on the board, you will see that in the old tax law, the law provides that your first 300,000 should be taxed with 7%. So before an accountant will do this to be able to get your net salary, it's expected that there are certain deductions that will be done. And one of the things I will encourage everybody here to do is that you can take advantage of life insurance. Life insurance is exempted from tax. The law provides officially that you can do 1/3 of your annual salary. But that is actually 33%. 1/3 is 33%. If you don't want to do that, you can still go ahead and do up to 50%. It's still allowed. So that amount of money is exempted from tax. Your pension, your National Housing Fund, your health insurance, they are all exempted from tax. Your voluntary pension contribution is also exempted from tax. So if you do not need money now, I will encourage you to do this so that you can pay less tax. Yes, more money to you is more profitable to you than it goes to government because we are not seeing how they are using it. So it is legal. we have talked about tax planning under tax avoidance. It is illegal for you to be able to avoid tax. So in the new tax law, we have said this before, you will see that those earning within the range of 800,000 are zero rated. So it's 0%. Then the next 300,000 as against 11% is now 15%. Then we have 300,000 to 12 million, 18%. Then 12 million to 25 million, 21%. Then 25 million to 50 million, 23%. And 50 million and above, 25%. So when all those reliefs and exemptions are calculated, they will now take them out, including your rent relief. Then they will now, whatsoever is remaining, it is called taxable income. It is on that income that they will apply this table and arrive at your PE. So when your accountant calculates your tax, you have the right to always ask, can you show me how you arrive at my net pay? Don't just take everything they tell you. If you like, get your pay slip and take an independent opinion. Somebody should elsewhere that you know has the knowledge of this should be able to recompute your pay and tell you how much you're supposed to earn. And the essence is that every number should count. If you have not been intentional about with the money that you earn, be intentional from today, because it is your money, you work for it, and nobody should just maybe miscalculate your salary or whatsoever your earnings and give you what is not your own. So this is the comparison between the old tax table and the new tax table. Then this is the conclusion. So taxation is a sustainable source of government revenue and represents a powerful tool to enhance government fiscal capacity to improve citizen welfare. Regrettably, Nigeria faces persistent challenges in tax revenue mobilization, including low revenue base. Our tax to GDP ratio is about 11%. And this is one of the lowest in Africa because the continental average for Africa is about 15%. So that is why you see the government trying to harass everybody for purposes of tax. And let me tell you one thing. You see all the noise they make about oil revenue and the rest of it. I will tell you here authoritatively that the tax revenue account for our GDP more than the oil revenue. Because you know what happened? If anybody is working in NNPC here, go and ask them. It's a fact. NNPC will take cost of collection up to 20%. They will take another 3%, they will take another 4%, and they will take another working capital of 4%. All in all, they are taking 30% from whatever they generate. And the last time, what NNPC share collected from federal government from revenue was 75 billion naira. That is about 5 states in the north. Put Kano, Jigawa, Katsina, KB together, they do not have up to that, including Kaduna. They do not have what NNPC took from the revenue they bought. So it is when this money, the balance that is left, that is now sent to government. And when it is sent to government, they will also share between states, they will share with local government, and how much will be remaining. So I will tell you that what is sustaining this country is not the NNPC that is frustrating everybody with fuel price. It is our taxes. And that is why you have the right to hold your government accountable. You have a right to hold your government accountable because you contribute to it. The fragmented tax system, over 60 taxes and levies across federal, state, and local level, creates inefficiency, double taxation, and burden businesses. So there were a lot of taxes. So let me just try to round up. The reforms are contained in 4 landmark tax law enacted on 26th of June 2025, now gazetted. One of them is the Nigerian Tax Act, Nigerian Tax Administration Act, the Nigerian Revenue Service, then the Nigerian Joint Revenue Tax Board establishment. So these are the new acts that govern our taxes. And this is the reflection from Poplio, the 2013. Poplio said the church is not only a spiritual society, but also a social and political one, with a mission to influence and improve the temporal welfare of the human race. That is why this topic is very important. If you make money and you make more money, you will help us here. St. Vincent de Paul, when they are beating their box, you are able to contribute, and we are able to help people who need help. Then, Pope John Paul the 23 is saying, hence, though the church's first care must be for souls, she concerned herself too with the exigencies of man's daily life, with his livelihood and education, and his general and temporal welfare and prosperity. So that is why I'm saying, do not waste your money around. It's very important. Your money is very, very important. And you can hear this from the Pope. He has died so many years ago, but these quotations live, and they live for you. So thank you very much, and God bless you. Glory to Jesus. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
One, two, three, 4, 5. So I did the 6, 7. So that was the 8. 9. Please don't go to the front.
How about you? Okay.
We appreciate our government. We want our government to be blessing more.
Amen.
We have understood what we say. We have low income.
Another area I want to talk about is assuming you are self-employed and you have people working under you, who you pay maybe a maximum of 30, 20, 40,000. Are you going to be taxing them on that as a private so that you can be remitting? That's one. Another one is the landlord to tenant issue. When you pay your landlord, is it if you are working as a private person or a government person that you are not able to apply so that certain percentage can be paid to you as from your rent by the government or as a private person? I want to be clear about that.
Okay.
Then I also thank God that we have talked about the deduction of transfers, because that one was really seriously. Some of us were ready to put our money in our houses so that we will stop the transfer. But thank God it has been clear. Then what I want to also ask, you also observe that when you are transferring very large amounts, like 1 point, 2 points, much money is being deducted by the bank. Is it seen as the part of the deduction of the bank or part of the taxation tax on that large amount? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Except if you don't go to the front.
Glory to Jesus.
I'm not very
Please, I want to ask specifically on salary income earners. You know, before now, it has always been pay as you earn until this tax reform came in. And I want to know specifically what's the percentage of the income that should be taxed. Because as in paying, the former one is the higher you earn, the more tax you pay. But in this one, this year also, I realized that the tax has also been increased. So why? So is it still the pay as you earn they are using in the old one? Or this new reform, how does it specifically affect salary income earners, and what percentage should be taxed? Because it's affecting me specifically.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next question, please. We have 10 questions. Glory to Jesus. Honor to the
Brother, my question is, like these people that have not registered their business, how do you assess this tax of a thing? There are people that are into their own personal business without registering them with either CSC or whatever. then how are they going to access this tax
Okay.
benefit? Thank you.
Next question, please. I'm not very.
I want to ask, talking about registering for tax, if I'm selling photo and maybe Gulu, am I expected to register for tax? Then secondly, if I'm being registered in my office, does that cover in my business? Thank you.
Next question, please.
So, yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Wonderful work. So my question is, from your analysis you gave so far this night, are you confident that the purpose of this new tax law will really be beneficial to the Nigerian people at the end of the day? Because in civilized times, the main purpose of tax is to improve the social welfare of people, improve healthcare, improve education. So, with all this analysis you give me, will the average Nigerian benefit from this tax law? Because of your lecture, you also said that the big players, those who earn high income annually, will be the ones to bear the cost of this tax. But if that's the case, at the end of the day, who will be the husband? Because this morning on ITV, I was listening to a hotel owner, so I was saying that he pays $35,000 monthly on energy in his hotel premises. So at the end of the day, such kind of high expenses is not at the end the consumer that bears the burden of all this. And you know about oil revenue. When this government came in, subsidy was not of so far. So far, there are increases of oil subsidy. There has been invested in. Thank you.
Let's have a short list. The first one, the banks. The bank says that taxes have been reduced to 4
From 61 or 62 or thereabouts.
Yes.
Now, banks charge more, or they make us pay more than 5 taxes. This one, the multiple taxation, you pay VAT, you pay, if you make any transfer, you pay stamp duty, you pay the maintenance of account, you pay whatever, the SMS, whatever. That's one. Who regulates them? Who controls them? Then number two, you talk about tax relief. Does it actually work in Nigeria? Because I know that abroad, they have effective tax relief. You just go, no heavens. You just go and collect your relief. But here, does it, let's be sincere, does it actually, if it works, who is responsible for that?
Thank you very much. Next question,
How will they collect tax for crypto payments? How will they do it? Because there are losses in crypto and there are gains. So once the thing enters your, let me say you trade P2P, how will they collect the tax? Because you can actually just forge any narrative. You can actually just say that this is a gift, like you said earlier, or this is something like a food. So how will government know that this is coming from crypto? Because there are losses. And I cannot put money in crypto now and let me say I lose inside in trade. And let me say I want to withdraw my loss and government will not collect it. So how do they plan on regulating it? Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Yeah.
Since in your office, they deduct the salary from the department, yeah? The last year that we should generate another tax thing and submit to the government, are we going to pay them the taxes again? Since they deduct from your office, maybe before payment, they deduct the taxes. Yeah, from the salary. Then this one that they said that we are going to file generate new tax this thing and submit to the government. Are they going to deduct it again from that submission? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That's the last question.
Sorry, there's something I missed out. I want to know about this payee, federal and state, because what we are using presently is a tax identification number, TIN. But you talked about payee, federal, and state ID. So can you throw more light on that? The difference between the two.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will try my best to do justice to the question. So I'm starting from the last one. So she's asking about the tax ID that I talked about tax identification number not being in use again. So what it means is that we used to have the joint tax board, and we used to also have the IRS, that is the Internal Board of Revenue for states. Then we used to have the FCT IRS. Then we have the FIRS, which is now the NRS. So all these bodies were responsible for issuing TIN. So you could see that one individual is having about 4 TIN. Because if I leave Abuja and maybe I go to Borno State now to work, I will need to register with the tax authority there for the purposes of remittance of my payee. You understand? The new tax law now says instead of Gabriel having multiple TIN numbers, tax identification number, let Gabriel have one national ID and one state ID. So if I leave Abuja now and go to my state, Benue State, for instance now, I will remit tax using my national ID because my resident is in Abuja. So that is why I say now the law now replaces that with only 2 ID. You have the state ID and the national ID. And it is not called TIN again. It is called taxpayer identification number. So that is what replaces the TIN. So there is nothing like a federal, and you have national and then state. The state is your place of residence. So if you have these two, you are not expected to, if you relocate from here to Nasarawa State, for instance, you are not expected to register again. So I think that question, that is clear, right? Then the question number 8, you are talking about your employer deducting your taxes and remitting it, and you now be expected to file another tax. So what we are saying is that if your employer deducts your taxes, you are not expected to pay the same taxes that your employer deducted. But in any way, if you earn income, maybe as you are working, you also have a shop that you're earning money, or you also have, you're a consultant, maybe you train people and you earn money, it is expected that you should report those income. But I want to correct something. You say your office, please, I don't work with any tax authority. Okay? So it's not my office. I only read it, so please. So if your office deducts your tax and pay, you're not expected to pay on that same income. But in any case, if you earn income in any other source, you're expected to pay. And again, if your business is not a big business, you just need to keep account. If you keep account, you're exempted from payment of company income tax. And we said that for a business to be a small business that is exempted from tax, it means that that business has a turnover of less than 100 million. So if you do not have up to that, then it means you do not qualify to pay tax. Is that okay? Okay. Then question 7, my brother is asking a question about B2B, when you transact directly with people. So you cannot forge your expenses because when the tax authority writes you, they will expect you to show proof of expenses. You will need to prove expenses. So you cannot just say it is a gift, it's this, is that. No, you will need to prove expenses. And the authority, remember now that you are giving access to your bank statement using your NIN. So the bank and the tax authority are able to assess your income in a year. And that is why on the 31st of March, when you do your individual declaration, the tax authority will use your bank statement to check how much you have received and how much you are reporting. So there is nothing you will say, you can be able to forge the expenses and they will not know. They will know because they will ask you for proof. If you say you take a loan, they will ask you for the loan agreement, they will ask you for repayment arrangement, they will ask you board resolution, who authorizes you to take the loan. And then regarding if you do a business and you incur a loss, you cannot pay tax on loss. If you incur a loss, loss are not taxable. You can only tax profits. So the tax authority will never ask you for tax if you incur loss. However, you will need to prepare your account and show proof of evidence that, yes, there was actually a loss within that period. That is question 7. Question 6. Question 7, is it okay by you, brother? Is it okay by you? You got my answer, right? Okay. Then number 6. Number 6 talk about stamp duty and bank charges, that there are multiple taxes that the bank is charging. So as far as I know, and as far as I can remember or see, the bank only charges you stamp duty when you make a transfer, right? Before, it used to be the receiver, but now sender from the new tax law. For every other thing that you see, all those bank maintenance, they are not for government. They are for the bank. Those ones are for their bank charges. They are charging you for keeping your money for you. They are charging you for providing you a platform for you to be here in Abuja and send money to somebody anywhere in the world. So that is why they are charging you for those things. They are charging you maintenance to be able to maintain the system so that they can be able to serve you tomorrow. So it is not government matter. As it stands today, there is only one levy that is from the government, which is stamp duty. Any other charges that you see on your account, if you do not understand, go and meet your account officer. If he does not explain well, call for the bank manager. If you are a bank customer is somebody who has an account with the bank, and you have the right to request that the manager explain things to your satisfaction. And if you do not understand, get a lawyer or an accountant to help you to forge the case, or maybe preferably a lawyer. Do you understand? Is that okay? Yes. So that is number 6. Number 5, with the new tax law, benefit Nigeria and with respect to subsidy, the brother that asked this question, okay, so I said it before that the collection of taxes in Nigeria is not a problem. It has never been a problem. They have been collecting money. Just last week or so, the Nigerian Revenue Service commissioned their office. It's one of the biggest in the whole of Africa. In fact, there is no any office in the whole of Africa that is as big as that office. So there is money. But like I said before, if you ask the people collecting the money, they will tell you that their work is to collect the money. It is now your work to hold the government accountable. And of course, you know your councillor, you know your chairman, you know your House of Assembly member, you know your House of Representative member, you know your senator, you know your governor. If you don't know any of this one, you should be able to know your councillor, because that is the person closer to you. Those are the people you should hold accountable. So I may not be able to tell you how the government should use the money, because me too, I am still asking for how are they using the money. So I don't have an answer for that. But for the subsidy, the truth of the matter is that we all have a responsibility. The responsibility is to stand up and demand our rights. And you remember our sister here, Constance, was contesting for consular the last time. How many people voted for her actually? You vote for her. Glory be to Jesus. You did well. But some people did not come out. Even people that they begged, she lay down here and begged. People did not come out. But if we had voted for her, she would have been our small voice from this Usman world that we all are. You see, so that is the problem. On the day of election, people prefer not to come out. In the last election, the result that came out was not what any of us expected. Maybe only few in this hall would have expected the result that came out. But it was because maybe we came out, but our effort was not enough. So we encourage everybody. And I don't think, based on the quotes that we got from the Pope, I think we can stand on that and demand that it is not just church that we are doing. In as much as we come here for our soul, for the salvation of our souls, we also need to demand for our right, because we cannot be living on earth in hell. What do I say so? When you don't have electricity to sleep is a problem. When you're on the road, you go back and fix your car. The fuel is how much? None of us can explain. So I don't have answers as to where the subsidy has been plunged to. But the truth is that The accountability system in Nigeria is very dull and is dormant. Nobody is holding anybody accountable. Even the people that call themselves activists, sometimes they do it for their pockets. Sorry to say that, but because nothing is changing, nothing has changed. So I think I've answered your question, because myself too, I'm still asking, how are they using the money? But we know that when the president wants to travel, they will come from Aswan Villa to the airport. And how many numbers will pass for somebody that is going to use plane to travel? So maybe that is how they are using the money. So number three is talking about those people who are doing business but don't have business registration, that their businesses are not registered with CAC. So I said before that it is very important that if you are doing business, you should register with CAC. It's very important you should register with CAC, because there will be a time that government will want to support small business owners. They will be giving loans, and they cannot give it to you if you do not have a CAC certificate. So those are some of the incentives that you can get if you register your business. And it does not cost so much. As it stands today, 25,000 or 30,000 naira can help you register a business. If nobody do it for you, I can do it for you. I know Sister Chinenye is here. She can do it for you. Sister Chinenye, wave too. Wave. She can also do it for you. She's a lawyer. You can meet her and she can do your business for you. So Sister Constance can also do it for you, right? Is that what you say? Okay, so now you are talking about when you say your Zobo and Kunu, right? So your Zobo and Kunu is exempted from tax, because I am very sure that the profit or the turnover of that Zobo and Kunu is not up to 100 million, right? So you're actually exempted from tax. So I hope that question is answered too. Then number three is talking about salary payment. Number two is talking about salary payment. So sister said that the old payee, what she used to know was it used to be pay as you earn. But now it's as if the thing is something different. So like I projected before, in the old payee, it's still the same thing. It is still pay as you earn. The concept has not changed. The only thing is the percentage that has changed. Before, in the old tax, your first 300,000, like I said before they will calculate your tax, your salary and arrive at your net, there are certain exemptions that you need to benefit, whether you're working for government or you're working for private sector. It is your right because the law provides for it. So when they remove your 8% pension contribution, when they remove your national housing fund, when they remove your health insurance, if you're contributing for life insurance, they will remove it. If you are doing voluntary pension contribution, they will remove it. Then before, the law used to provide for a consolidated relief of 20% plus 1%. Then they will not give it for you. They will remove all of that from your total annual pay. When they remove that, whatsoever is remaining, that is when they will now apply the tax table on it. So that has not changed. The only thing that has changed is that those relief has been taken away. But now, the law provides 20% of your rent to a maximum amount of 500,000. So either 20% or maximum amount of 500,000. So 500,000, that means that you're paying the rent of up to 2.5 million. Then you can enjoy the maximum relief. Otherwise, you can always do the 20%. So those relief are still available. The only thing is that if you are any higher, you pay more, because the first 800,000 is 0% that will be charged. After they remove all the allowables, they will apply 8% on the first 800, the 0% on the first 800,000. Then the remaining 800,001 naira to 3 million, they will apply 15% instead of 11% before. You understand? So if you check between 11 and 15%, there's a difference of how many? 4%, right? Then they will graduate from there. Before, from 601 naira to 1.1 used to be 15%. But now, from 301 3 million, 1 naira to 12 million is now 18%. After they have taken all those allowables and reliefs. Then the next 12 million to 25 million, 25%. So that is what the accountant does. By the time he get that, then he will now divide it by 12. Then that is when he will now obtain your monthly tax payable. And that becomes what will be deducted from your gross annual pay, then your tax. Then one question, that is question 1. I don't know if your question has been answered well. Okay. This question talk about 40K. Okay, you said that you have people working for you and you don't pay them much. You're paying them just about 40,000, 30,000 thereabouts. They are not expected to pay tax, but the law said that they should register for and have tax identification number. You remember I said here that if you contract anybody at all in Nigeria and the person do not have a team, when they come for you, your fine will be 5 million. So everybody is expected to have a tax ID, but they are not expected to pay tax as long as they submit the tax identification number, which is the taxpayer ID as of today. Then you now talk about the rent relief as well. So for the rent relief, like I said, if you're working for either private or government, the law provides that you benefit from it. But there is a condition. The condition is that you will either present your house, your rent agreement with your landlord to your accountant, or you will present the receipt of payment of that amount, or you can present a transfer receipt or a teller deposit slip from the bank. There must be an evidence to prove that you're actually paying rent in any form. Anyhow you can prove that you're paying rent, then you can enjoy the rent relief of up to 500,000 if you're paying up to 2.5 million. Then you talk about transfers, that when you make a high value transfer, they will charge you. So the stamp duty is based on percentage. From any amount exceeding 10,000 naira above is subject to stamp duty. If you transfer all in 10,000 naira, you don't see charges, right? But by the time it exceeds 10,000 naira and above, they will apply the stamp duty percent and they will charge you. Then you talk about high value. Yes, that is it. That is the answer. So that is all. Thank you very much. No way. Thank you. Thank you. You said, what did you do? Thank you, ma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Your ATC was doing a good job.
No worries, man.